Now then, it's that time of the week again. Smash Bros MMA UK here. The big dog, as always, joined by KDiggy, Jimbo Slice, KDiggy. You all right?
Feeling good, mate. Feeling good.
Jimbo, what do you know?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm flagging at the end of 2020, but we'll get to the end soon.
Oh yeah, it's been a long old year on it. We're almost there. Fingers crossed. 2021 will be better. But before we can relax and get ready for the new year, we got a lot to talk about today. Great card from last week. Great card coming up this week, and quite a busy week in news. To be fair, a lot of stuff. As I was saying, we're looking forward to 2021. So we'll start off with a bit of big news. Not big news, good news from the last week of Conor McGregor stepping in and saving Straight Blast Jim. Port Arlington was saying due to the virus, due to COVID, they were going to have to shut down. Conor McGregor, bit of good PR for him coming in, pumping a bit of money into the gym, and now they're staying open. Why do we think Conor McGregor's done this, Jimbo Slice?
Well, to be honest, there was lots of he's now a stakeholder in the gym. It's probably a bit of a good thing for him to be a bit of an owner. It's like, well, maybe he did that, maybe he didn't. We don't know, but I think he's done it really to give back to something that in a gym in somewhere really saved his life, made him the man he is. I'm not the biggest Conor McGregor man. I think he can be a bit of an annoying personality, but I think he's done this really as a PR move, but done something because he thought it meant well. It meant well.
And like you said there, Jimbo, Conor McGregor trains out of SBG Dublin with his trainer John Kavanagh being the head guy. There's quite a lot of them around Ireland these days, from knowledge, from memory. So I think that really, it makes sense for him to do that. Like you said, it's helped him out through his youth, got him up to where he is. And without SBG, Conor McGregor wouldn't be the man that he is today. KDiggy, anything to add?
No, it's a good PR move as we've discussed. He's had enough bad press over the past couple of years, so it's nice to put his name in a positive light. So it's nice to hear that he's doing something right.
Well, that's it, innit? At the end of the day, it is good. People train there. It's someone's business. With everything going on in the world at the moment, Conor McGregor, multi-millionaire, he's done him a solid, pretty much. And moving on, we'll have a bit of a boxing section now. We'll start off with a bit of sad news for the UFC fans. Mark Hunt fighting Australian rugby star Paul Gallen. I think it was, for us, it'll have been early morning yesterday, last night in Australia, and losing a 6-round decision to a rugby star, someone who's not even a trained, having that level of training that Mark Hunt's got and losing. Where does Mark Hunt go from here, KDiggy?
Mark Hunt doesn't really go anywhere, does he? He's a hero down in the southern hemisphere, but he can just stay there and soak up some sun during Christmas time and have a bit of fun. He's a character who people love. I follow him on Instagram, and he's a good laugh really, and he's always meaning well, and he puts family first and his friends and his culture first. But these rugby players and the All Black rugby players and the Australians, they are the real athletes, and I believe this Paul Gallen has had fights before, but it is still pretty embarrassing for someone who's been fighting all of his life to be beaten by a rugby star.
And I know I speak for myself here, but Mark Hunt back in the day was one of my favourite fighters, one of my favourite stars in the UFC. When he went on that run, coming over from Pride on a humongous losing his first fight to Sean McCorkle, and then just an absolutely relentless run he went on for several years before getting spinning kick knocked out by JDS. And I'll ask you, Jimbo Slice, not a right lot else to say about the boxing match, but what's your favourite Mark Hunt moment in the UFC?
I was going to say, my actual favourite Mark Hunt moment is not an actual fighting memory. It was the build-up to the interim title fight with Fabricio Verdun. And I just remember you and me, Big Dog, being so excited Mark Hunt could possibly be the UFC interim heavyweight champion. And it was just a build-up to that fight. And the fight itself was fairly decent, and he was doing quite well in it before he got... Was it a flying knee?
It was a flying knee he got knocked down with, and it kind of
and he was doing quite
ended
well
it for him.
But it's just the build up to that bit, like he stepped in, he might be heavyweight champion. Mark Hunt, that is my favourite.
Talking about that fight, I remember waking up through the night to watch that, and in that first round, God, he must have dropped Fabricio Verdun about 3 or 4 times, and genuinely having that thinking about, oh my God, Mark Hunt is going to be the UFC interim champion, and I couldn't believe it. And then when that flying knee hit, I was absolutely devastated. But I think my favourite Mark Hunt moment, aside from the unbelievable fight he had with Bigfoot Silva when they fought to a draw, one of the best fights ever, was the Battle of the Bulge against Roy Nelson when he knocked him out with this beautiful uppercut, and Roy Nelson just fell flat on his face. It were a really clean knockout, and Mark Hunt just put his hands up in air, and I think it was Dan Mergliotta, the referee, just pushed him and he fell over him, and it were beautiful. It were a beautiful, beautiful knockout. Mm-hmm. Sticking with boxing, we've got Jake Paul, younger brother of Logan Paul, bit of a clown, calling out every man and his son this week. Quite an outrageous video been put up on, I think it was on the Grammys, put it up, calling out Conor McGregor. Talk us through what it was, KDiggy.
He is a big old mess. Jake Paul is just getting every little dollar he can get out of anyone. He started up at Conor McGregor, working down to Nate Diaz, all the way down to Dylan Dennis. He's looking for scraps wherever he can go, throwing water balloons at Dylan Dennis. And
I was just going to say that video when he's in the back of the van or the truck is so funny.
And when he's scripted with his thick cigar. Don't get me wrong, he's doing well for himself, but he needs to take a step back. He's beaten a washed up NBA star. He's beaten another YouTuber, and he needs to cool off, and he needs to fight someone at his level and keep moving up before he messes with the big dogs.
The thing you can't help but wonder with Jake Paul and his antics going on here, obviously his brother Logan is signed to have an exhibition match with Floyd Mayweather in February next year. And you've got to wonder, is this just a bit of a PR move to try and get in front of his brother and get into that realm? And I'll ask you, Jimbo Slice, is there a feud going on between the Paul brothers? And if so, who would win in a boxing match?
Now, I actually think if the Paul brothers had a boxing match, I actually think Jake Paul is by far the better boxer. By far the better boxer. Logan Paul doesn't really know how to jab. He just sort of throws his fist out there. He knows how to jab vaguely. Can't double jab. He can't do this. At least Jake seems to have the fundamentals of boxing sort of sorted. I don't think there's a feud, but I'd love to see that fight, and I can see that happening in a few years' time that they do it. And I think if it was real, Jake Paul would absolutely smash Logan. But
I could see it. I could see it happening just for the bants.
I can, but I also want to mention something. I think controversially, Jake Paul in a boxing match would beat Dylan Dennis. Dylan Dennis is a jiu-jitsu guy.
Oh,
Dylan Dennis is a jiu-jitsu guy. He'd beat him.
I think he'd beat Ben Askren.
Yeah. Jake Paul, as a boxer, is not... Okay, he's nothing like brilliant, but he's not horrendous. He's not terrible.
Jimbo Slice giving us a technical breakdown of Jake Paul's boxing credentials here on an MMA podcast, no less. We'll keep moving off the boxing. The boxing's done. We're going to talk about Bellator. Initially, Yoel Romero saying, we're not interested. We've got no part. We don't want anything to do with the soldier of God. The tunes have changed. By all accounts, Yoel is going, and I'm pretty sure I saw earlier on a picture it were either on Twitter or the gram of Yoel in front of a Bellator sign. And they're saying that he's going to be at light heavyweight. First fight is rumoured it's going to be Anthony Johnson. So I'll stay with you, Jimbo Slice. Yoel Johnson, who takes it?
Oh, you have to give me that one now. 5 rounds, I think Yoel. 3 rounds, I think Johnson.
You think as well, KDiggy, I'm going to come to you with this. Is that, what? Talk me through why you think that, Jimbo Slice. What makes you think that it's going to be that?
I just feel like Johnson needs that time where we need to see him back in the octagon or cage before I can make any judgment. But he might not have. He's put on a load of muscle mass. Johnson. He might not be used to carrying it. He's not doing explosive training anymore. He's doing powerlifting. He's obviously back into it now, but he hasn't been used to that big bursts of energy. Big bursts of energy, cardio, heavy routines. And I think that in a 5-round fight, that would play into effect. And I think Yoel would take the 2 final rounds, and I think he could easily take one of the first 3.
KDiggy, talk me through your thoughts on that fight.
It's an exciting one. I think I don't think it would be smart.
Can't tell by your tone.
I think it wouldn't be smart for Bellator to put them both together, to put these potential talisman together in the first fight at Bellator. I feel like it's the wrong move for Bellator right now. I feel like they should go on the separate paths against and build them up a little bit before they do bring them together. But Yoel's 42, 43, so I guess it's only a matter of time. But as I say, I think it's a really strong move for Yoel to go up to light heavyweight at this time of his career. Sort of take it easy, and don't do that horrendous weight cut that he does to get down to middleweight. And but if it does happen, I'll definitely be watching it because that is a fire matchup.
I think that the thing for me with the fight, and you've hit the nail on the head there perfectly, KDiggy. You've got in what is in essence 2 bona fide stars. You've got Yoel Romero, people love him. Yeah, his last fight wasn't great, but people remember the violent knockouts, the wars that he's been in through his career. But at the end of the day, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He needs a bit of a gimme fight, a bit of a tune-up fight as he comes into the UFC to give him that, not the UFC, sorry, Bellator. To give him that experience, get the cobwebs off his shoulders, build his confidence back up. But I think someone like Melvin Manoff would be the perfect fight for him straight out the gate. I think it'd be a really good matchup. Anthony Johnson, I'd say give him Bader, to be honest with you. Give him Bader at light heavyweight. Or if Bader's wanting to stay at heavyweight, Downton maybe a Phil Davies rematch down the line. They've fought before. And then, like you say, build them up and have them come against each other, possibly in a number 1 contenders bout, or if either of them take the title off Vadim Nemkov. But it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Johnson, because like you're saying, Jimbo, he hasn't fought since 2017, and in his retirement to now, doing a lot of powerlifting, a lot of big weights, and he was a unit, he was a big boy during that time. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with Johnson and what he's going to be like in his first fight back. Speaking of kind of upcoming fights, Dana White saying Alex Volkanovski, Brian Ortega likely to take place in February of next year. Quite a tantalising matchup for me, one that excites me very much. How do you see it playing out, KDiggy?
It is an exciting one. You're right. There's so many ways it can go. Volkanovski's just been on a tear recently. Well, recently since he's come into the UFC, he's been insane. And Ortega's found this new lease of life after being demolished by Holloway. So it is a really interesting fight. But I can't look past the way Ortega fought against the Zombie. Just a couple of months ago, it was an incredible polished performance. So I'm going to have to back Ortega, but I'm always like this with Volkanovski. He's always the underdog. He's like the new Henry Cejudo for me, and he always finds a way to win. But for me, I'm going to have to go Ortega's way.
Jimbo Slice, do you see any way for Volkanovski to get past the kind of height advantage that Ortega will carry in the cage?
Until this last performance from Ortega, I always thought of him as a man who was losing until he wasn't. He was the man who was being beaten, and whipped out an amazing submission out of nowhere. But that last performance by Ortega, where he learned how to use his hands more, he learned how to jab. I can't see a situation where Volkanovski wins 9 out of 10 times. I can see I can see Ortega winning 9 out of 10 times and Volkanovski being the man who wins once. Because if the man who fought the Korean zombie turns up, with using those hands and being such good jiu-jitsu, you're taking away about Volkanovski's takedowns. He is going to be afraid to take. And if the man that fought zombie turns up, he's got a reach advantage and he knows how to use his hands now. And he'll use it.
I think it's a really compelling matchup. And for me, I thought Volkanovski beat Holloway in that rematch. I thought it was a first round, second round to Holloway, 3-4-5 to Volkanovski. And he came back, he persevered and used that resilience to get the victory. But the thing that concerned me in that fight was how he was hurt in them first 2 rounds against Holloway, who, I'm not going to sit here and slag off, but he's not someone who's necessarily known for his power. But he actively had him quite wobbled and hurt. You got Brian Ortega coming in, absolute wizard on the ground, so it's completely negating any ground game that Volkanovski could try and use against him. But you've got Ortega, who's a heavy hitter, wobbled the zombie and knocked Frankie Edgar out. Was the first person to knock Frankie Edgar out. So he's got power in those hands and in those knees from when he finished Clay Guida. I'm concerned that Volkanovski can't take the power, but I feel that it's a compelling matchup. You can't rule the champion out, but if I was to put a bit of money on the line for the fight, I would be backing Ortega by a stoppage, I think, for me. Is there any other news you boys want to cover before we move on?
No,
nothing apart from just what we're going to come on to with the UFC 256.
So yeah, UFC 256, what a card. Top to bottom, absolutely phenomenal. Bit of a mixed bag for the boys on the verdict, with one member of the team only getting two correct results and getting below 1,000 XP. I don't think I've ever seen that happen to anyone. KDiggy, what went wrong?
I don't know, mate. I really don't. I remember the first fight. It was the Moicano against Fizelev, and I had Moicano, and he got knocked out in the first round, and I just knew, a part of me knew that it was just all gonna go to shit from there, and it did. It all went horribly to shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right me sitting here giving it big licks. I didn't do that much better. I only picked 2 more winners than you, but outcomes and manners of victory was what I got better right and correct for you. But Jimbo Slice coming in massive favourite, getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 5 of 7 right, and with the draw in the main event, technically only got 1 wrong because no one got points for that one. So Jimbo Slice, fair cop, you had a stellar performance there. You're catching up to the boys with your blue belt now, but we'll talk through quite a lot of the card, to be fair, because for the first time in a very long time, I watched from the Fight Pass prelims all the way to the main card. It's not often I do that. And I just want to start off by talking about Chase Hooper. Did either of you boys see this one?
Yes, I wanted to bring this up as well.
Talk to me, Jimbo. Talk me through it. Tell me what you want to say.
I was watching it, and it was reminding me very much of the Chase Hooper versus Alex Caceres fight at first. And I thought it's just going to go exactly the same way again. Being beaten for 2 rounds quite handedly. Not as beaten as he was when he was fought Chase, Alex Caceres, sorry, but being beaten quite significantly on the feet. What a finish, though, with a Hail Mary heel hook. But it does concern me that Chase Hooper didn't seem to have evolved his stand-up at all since that Alex Caceres fight. But the finish was beautiful.
It were a lovely finish, and showing that kind of Brian Ortega resilience and perseverance in finding a way to win. But I think the commentary team on the night nailed it perfectly when they were saying about Chase Hooper that his striking just isn't there. He's a young lad. He's very young. Is he 19 or 20? He's not old by any stretch of the imagination. And the thing that they were saying is he's in the UFC, he's in the top flight as it goes, organization, division within the sport. And this isn't the place to learn your skills. And KDiggy, I'll come to you with this one. Do you think that despite, not being on a losing streak, that Chase Hooper should remain in the UFC?
I think he should be remaining in the UFC, but fighting these top echelons in that very, very dangerous featherweight division is another question. He's got years and years to build it up. It's an interesting story, isn't it? He's got the sort of the Ben Askren's child story behind him. He seems like a lovely kid. It's I wouldn't mind going for a beer with him and
I don't know if he can legally drink though. Is the
yeah,
problem if you were to go to the States?
But
Yeah.
well, yeah, he seems
Chase
like,
Super, if you're a watcher, get yourself to UK.
yeah, man. I'll get you actually. Bars are closed. Come over yeah. But yeah,
He's 21.
Yeah, I think he seems like a good kid. He has a good laugh, and I think you two got it spot on there. You need to work on your ground, not your ground game, striking, and just make sure that your game's a bit more well rounded, because he's already been found out, and it's just about fighting similar people to Peter Barrett, and then eventually making your way up when you're ready. But there's no rush for Dana, I don't think.
Well, you say that though, KDiggy, but he was quite handedly losing the fight until he kind of pulled off this miracle submission. And Peter Barrett is not exactly a known name. He's not exactly a killer in the division. And Chase, he was making lunch meat of Chase Hooper, who made him his bitch pretty much for 2.5 rounds. I like the kid. I think he's got a lot of potential, but I think it might be too much too soon for him in the top organisation for the sport.
Do you know who reminds me of Chase Hooper?
Yeah.
He reminds me in a way of the Sage Northcutt story. When he signed Sage when he was 19.
He's not the other way, isn't
he? Yeah. Sage could strike, but once he got taken down by Brian Barberina, he got put in a triangle choke and tapped before it was even deep.
He tapped before it was in. He said he had like a sore throat or something, strep throat or whatever the fuck it's called. But yeah, it's quite a fair point you make there. If you had Sage Northcutt, Chase Hooper, put them together, you've got arguably one of the best fighters in the world. What a shame. What a shame. Is it Sage Northcutt? Has he fought since he got like brutally knocked out over in one?
No,
I don't think so.
That was brutal. That was absolutely brutal.
He had to get facial construction surgery, didn't he? Because he got fucked up bad. Yeah,
it was a brutal knockout. One punch and done. Well, we'll get to the verdict fights then. So it was every fight on the card bar the Tisha Torres and the Gavin Tucker fight, and we'll start with where it all went wrong for KDiggy, and it went wrong for me as well. The Rafael Fiziev fight against Renato Moicano. I had a Moicano submission first round, and I was watching the fight, and I was thinking, yeah, no, this isn't going to go my way. This, and then Moicano got knocked. Well, they say he got knocked out. It's down as a KO. But he was protesting it almost instantly. Jimbo Slice, do you think it was an early stoppage?
Not at all. People are saying, well, it was a bit early. He should have let him take a few more punches. Like the way that elbow that Fiziev landed after when he followed him down, that strike was such an awesome follow-up. You didn't need to. He was trying to pull guard, but one or two more punches and he was out. It reminded me of when like Dominic Reyes was on top of Weidman, and Reyes hit him a few more times. Reyes hit him a few more times and got him out cold. He didn't need to take those extra few punches, and I think the ref did a good job of stopping Moicano taking those extra punches.
See, I think the fight would have probably finished in a similar manner to the Weidman Reyes, but I don't think he was necessarily as hurt as Weidman was when he first went down. I'd have liked to have seen the fight go a little bit longer, purely on the basis that I had a Moicano submission in the first round as my pick, in the hope that he'd pull off some submission from the guard, do a Frank Mir, and whilst he's dazed and confused, manage to slap a cheeky Kimura on Big Nog or something like that. Something reminiscent of that. I was kind of hoping he might get it, but to be fair to Fiziev, absolutely sterling performance, beautiful knockout, clean striking on the feet. And KDiggy, where do you want to see him go from here?
I'm just going to start off by saying how disappointed I am in Moicano to go from the graces of where he was, 2 years ago, potential champion, to lose, to being on such a skid now. It's actually really upsetting really for him. But Fizelev, I think he could go anywhere. That this lightweight division is just full of killers. Off the top of my head, I don't really have. Can't really think of anyone. Really.
I'm just going to quickly check. I'm going to check the rankings to get a bit of a gauge as to who's at the lower end. I'm not saying by any stretch give him a ranked fighter, but just for my own, I just want to check who is at the bottom.
I want him to fight. I know he's fought a very good grappler this time. I want to see him fight someone who's a strong wrestler, someone who can take him down. And I want to see if he can stop
Gregor Gillespie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that type of fight.
Looking at that kind of lower end, if we were just to kind of get that ballpark, that kind of suggestion, you got Gregor Gillespie down there, you got Kevin Lee down there. I'd say Dariush, but Dariush deserves a higher ranked opponent. Makachev's fighting Dober.
We can't. He's going to fight Khabib.
Kevin Lee's fighting Khabib, to be fair, isn't he?
Like a Brad Riddell.
Yeah. Pardon?
Brad Riddell from New Zealand.
Yeah, that could be a good fight. I think there's a lot of options for, the UFC to go down with Fiziev, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do go for with a knockout like that. Did he get performance of the night for it?
He did. I've got one who he could. Isn't Marco Madsen a lightweight?
Yes. That would be a really good fight, actually. You've got, Olympic wrestler, fighting him there. It would be a real clash of styles and who could impose the will early. That's a compelling matchup. Very compelling. So,
yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
I was just going to move on. I was moving on to the next fight. If you've got something else to say, get in now.
No, I'm all done.
The next fight continued to go wrong for KDiggy. Cub Swanson getting that second round knockout against Daniel Pineda. Me and Jimbo Slice both went for the decision. Swanson, we saw Swanson for what he is, and that's a savvy veteran. For me, the lead up to the fight, a lot of hype around Pineda, and it was really reminiscent of me of the fight that Cub Swanson had when he was coming off some pretty big losses to Frankie Edgar and Max Holloway when he fought Hacker and Diaz back in 2015 on one of the Fox cards. It was one of those fights against a up-and-comer where they were testing the kid against, the gatekeeper of the division. And again, Swanson passed with flying colours. Had Pineda not really gone for it really hard in that first round, it could have been a completely different story for Killer Cub, and he may have lost, but played the game well. He worked hard and he got that knockout in the second round. And Jimbo Slice, where do you think Cub should go from here?
I'm not certain off the top of my head, but all I want to say is Cub Swanson, do not put him out to pasture just yet. Keep him around. I think he deserves maybe. Do you throw him back in with a really low-ranked top 15? Probably not, but I would love to see him crack into the ranks again. But I just think he deserves a favourable matchup. They threw him to Kron Gracie, so because they thought Kron would beat him, and they threw him to Pineda because they thought Pineda would beat him. Swanson is not that man.
Cub Swanson's not ranked at the minute, and there's a fighter that everybody does not want to fight in Ryan Hall. I mean, the question comes is it a good fight for Ryan Hall to take, to fight an unranked fighter, but he wants to fight. It'd be an interesting fight, a good gauge for Hall and his capability and skills. I'd quite like to see him fight Arnold Allen, to be fair, but again, he's quite highly ranked these days. KDiggy, what about you? Who would you like to see Killer Cub fight?
Well, we've seen him against two wrestlers now. Pineda's known for his ground game, and obviously Kron Gracie is the ultimate ground game specialist. So let's put him up against the ultimate striking specialist in Edson Barbosa, and
oh yes,
and let's let it go wild. I think he deserves it. He deserves a big fight like that to propel him close to near the top. He's changed his camps. And as you boys said last week, he doesn't lose against losers. So let's put him up against a winner, well, an ex-winner, who's trying to make moves in this division. So I think Edson Barbosa, Cub Swanson should be the fight going forward.
I think that's a great fight. It's a really good fight, and you've got Edson Barbosa, killer kicker, loves a kick, loves a spinning heel kick, could knock people out. Coming off a win against Makwan Amirkhani, who fought last and beat.
Yeah.
He beat Makwan Amirkhani. Good fight, dominant fight. I think it's good, and it gets whoever wins that fight. It elevates them to the next level. Whilst Cub's not ranked, he's a good name. He's got a lot of name value in the division. And like you were just saying, then KDiggy, only the best beat him. He's not one of these guys that any chase hooper of the world gets past and beats. So it's a fight that piques my interest. And KDiggy, I'll stay with you very briefly again. What went wrong in the verdict picks?
I think with the for the Daniel Pineda one, I did go for the XP. I remember when we was talking on our blog last week, and I was saying I sort of convinced myself that Cub Swanson was going to win by how he's got this newfound motivation, but I ended up sticking with what I know and went for the first round submission, and it wasn't nice. It wasn't good.
I think if there's any lesson you should take here, KDiggy, is that go with your head. Don't go for the XP. Go with what you think is going to happen. There's a reason people aren't going to give you that XP bonus on the verdict, and it's because they're not going to win. You know what I'm saying?
This week's going to be a bad week then.
I'm going to have a disaster. I've gone with my head for this week, but we'll see what happens. So that kind of capped off the preliminaries on the verdict, and we went to the main card. First fight, Cyril Gann fighting Junior Dos Santos, and I got this one wrong. I'll hold my hands up. I thought that Junior was going to do enough. I thought he still had enough left in the tank, and what resulted in was a pretty lackluster performance from him. Cyril, the big boy in the fight, imposing his will early, working him. Junior just kind of taking it, not really giving it anything, and then crumbling in the second round. I believe it was an elbow to the side of his head. A bit of a protest that it was possibly to the back of his head, but I think the writing was on the wall very early in that round that he wasn't done, and it was just depressing to see him crumble in the manner in which he did. And Jimbo Slice, is this the end of the road for Junior?
Do you know what I think the end of the road for Junior really, really was? The two Stipe fights. Not the Stipe fight, sorry. The two Cain Velasquez fights.
He's never been the same since, has he?
Never been the same. He did have that brilliant first fight with Stipe. The first fight with Stipe was brilliant. But he's never been the same since those two. And but I do think this is the real end. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you saw JDS just cut from the rankings, cut from the UFC. But it has given Garn a huge boost as this win. And I'd love to see Garn against a wrestler, and that's all I want to see. And then when he beats a wrestler, I want to see him in that title fight.
Bloody hell. You're not playing around, are you? You only have like 6 fights.
I am not playing around with Cyril Garn.
Mate. Garn is the man.
Nah.
Garn is the man.
I agree. He needs to fight a ground specialist. But the question is, who would that be, KDiggy? Who would be this ground fighter for him to fight?
The boa constrictor.
Alexei Olenek.
Yeah, but for me, I wouldn't go that route. I think let's just build him up. I think we could just get him in there, and it is another big jump, but I think he's ready because he's this beast. He's a motherfucking beast, and if he goes up against Rosenstruck, it'll be pretty fire. But obviously, he is up there, Jardinho. But I think that's the next fight, and it's just panning out perfectly for my top 15 rank. It's just get him up there, beat Rosenstruck, and then he's ready. Number 1 contenders for Well, actually, there's a lot of people lining up in there at heavyweight. And it might take
There's
a
a bit of a
while.
logjam at the top at the minute. I think the thing for me, I like Gan. He looks good. He's, it was a great performance. I'd go as far as saying it's a Star is Born performance. He went out there, beat a known name that people know, former champion in the former JDS. When you think about who's kind of there or thereabouts in the division at the moment, Rosenstruck's a name that jumps out at me, and I was actually thinking that before you said that, KD. I think it's a good matchup for him. If you really want to chuck him in there with the Sharks and get him that title shot expeditiously, I'd argue put him in there against the Ream. You've got a fighter who's got the complete package. He's got the striking. He's got the ground game. All he has that lets Alistair Overeem down as a suspect chin. That's his downfall. That's his kryptonite, and that his jaw's made of glass. And I think that'd be a great match. There's a lot of great options for Cyril Gann. From everything that he's done so far in the UFC, he looked complete. He looks a great fighter. And I'm really, really excited to see where he goes from here. But yeah, I'll hold my hands up. I picked wrong in this fight. I thought JDS had a bit more, and it was just so disappointing and saddening to see him go out in the way he did. But moving on from sadness to elation for one of the lads.
Just before we do, Overeem has already got a fantastic fight coming up against Volkov.
Oh, I forgot you were fighting Volkov. That's a great fight.
It is.
That's a big fight for both of them. Massive fight. When's that happening?
June. It says
June.
The 2nd of June. I've got down here.
What?
June.
It says the 2nd.
Fuck off.
Actually, it's probably American, isn't it? So it's probably the 6th of February. Yeah, they get the dates mixed up, don't they, in the US? So I imagine it's...
You're an absolute clown, mate. It is. It's in February.
It says here
The 2nd of June.
2nd of the 6th, 2021. So you just think... But yeah, and I guess that makes more sense. That's February.
It's got a huge
camp.
Bloody ranking MMA.com.
That's a really, really, really good fight. Is Overeem Volkov. I know we're breaking down 256, but I've got to ask, how do you think that one's going to play out, Jimbo Slice? What a fight!
I genuinely don't know. Like, that is two people who are peak kickboxers fighting there. But I'd like the Ream to win. But do you know what? I wouldn't be sad if Volkov won. I really like Volkov. I've been high on Volkov, except he's getting a bit cocky and getting knocked out by Derek Lewis. People forget he was absolutely dominating that fight when he was fighting against Derek Lewis. I'd like Ream to win just because I feel like he can have one last shot at the title.
Yeah. I mean, that fight for me, really, I know we're going off on a massive tangent here, and we should really be sticking to the card, but that fight for me is, it really screams number one contender after Francis Ngannou. Whoever wins that fight is next for the title, as far as I'm concerned. Aside from maybe Curtis Blades, I've just remembered exists.
And John Jones.
Oh yeah, you got JJ as well. And you're speaking another tangent. Have you ever seen Curtis Blades? You seen a picture of him without a beard?
Yes.
No.
Have you seen it,
I
Tom?
think so.
KDiggy, get it up now. Have a look on your phone.
I'll get Curtis up on here. Curtis Blades, no beard.
While we're on these tangents, what was it that you said you wanted to tell us? But we weren't allowed to search.
I'll tell you about that when we get to it. When we get to that fight.
Oh my God! It's like John Travolta.
He looks like a caveman. He looks like he looks like an early man. Does Curtis Blades?
That's funny.
Don't say that.
Well, whilst we're all here with elation, we'll talk about the next fight. KDiggy's highly touted pound for pound pick for next year. Talk me through it. Him in Holland against Jacare Souza. Talk us through the fight, KDiggy.
He came out confident. He came out swinging. He came out the way. I know he can do it, and he proved me wrong. I thought Souza doesn't get knocked out. He's only been knocked out once in the UFC by Robert Whittaker. and I didn't see it coming. I thought it was going to be a mean slog to decision where Kevin Holland would get him, but that knockout, getting into the ground and Sosa was on him and he was scared of Kevin Holland. He was scared. He was throwing elbows, he was throwing fists, and then he knocked him out and he bent him sideways and snapped him in half. It was incredible. And it's a path of destruction, Kevin Holland style.
It's one of the best knockouts I've seen in ages, to be fair. I haven't seen a knockout of that kind of caliber or quality since the maestro of the on the back knockout Nico Price did James Vick when they last fought, or when he fought Randy Brown and just decimated him from underneath. It was violent. It were a violent finish. And the way that Jacare kind of tried to stand up and after the fact and sat on the stool, it looked like he went unconscious again. It were a horrific finish. A really sad way to see Jacare lose there. And Jimbo Slice, Jacare on a 3-fight skid now. Off the top of my head, he's lost a number of fights in his last 10. I think he might be something like 3 wins and 7 losses in his last 10 or something like that. Where does he go from here? Is this the end of the road for him?
Straight to Bellator with you. That's exactly where it's going to happen.
I'm just going to check that for my own peace of mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want a bit harsh, to be fair. It's 4 wins, 6 losses.
This is the only fight I got completely wrong on the verdict. But I want to say, I think that is knockout of the year. Everyone's going to say the Buckley knockout of the year is that. But no one does that to Jacare. So that's why that is knockout of the year, in my mind.
It was beautiful. And, I will laughing in KDiggy's face when he said Kevin Holland was, a highly touted pound-for-pound pick for next year. I was laughing in his face. Thought it was scandalous. Thought it was preposterous. I was flabbergasted. I thought KDiggy lived in banana land as far as I was concerned. But I talked myself around last week when I was talking about that fight, and I went for a knockout, albeit in the second round. But I'm on the Kevin Holland train. I think he's got a bright future in front of him, and being the architect of the Kevin Holland hype train. KDiggy, who do you want to see him fight next?
Oof. I want to see him fight. Who did I put down here? Oh, I've already mentioned it last week. I want him to fight the loser of Hermansson and Vittori, which is Hermansson. So I think I say steer away from the Kamzat train. That's a whole different railway. Stay in your own lane, and let's go Hermansson. A very winnable fight, as I think Kieran would think, as he's not the biggest fan of Hermansson, but I think
Jack the Clown Hermansson.
I think it's
biggest clown in the middleweight division.
I think it makes the most sense for Kevin.
This Kevin Holland thing, he's just done this to Jacare, begs the question: just how good is Darren Stewart, who not that long ago went to a split decision and I think beat Kevin Holland?
Just how good is Darren Stewart?
That's a compelling question, to be fair. That is that's a great question. I say give Kevin Holland Vittori. Give him Vittori. Why the loser? He's coming off a rear that, you've got a star in the making performance for Vittori. You've got a brutal knockout for Kevin Holland. Give him Vittori. Have them two eke it out for whoever's going to take on the interim champion when Costa and Whittaker fight early next year. Have the winners go at it. Number one contenders fight. Let's let KDiggy's dream come true. Let KDiggy's dream come true.
Bring it on, mate. Bring it on. I love it.
So the next fight on the main card was the women's fight, which I don't like to bang my own, my own drum and blow smoke up my own ass, but I nailed it. Mackenzie Dern beating. I can't even read your little. Yeah, that's how you fucking say it. The bog-eyed one. The bog-eyed one. She looks like that bloke from the Asda advert.
I'll say
She looks
You
like
can't say this.
looks like a retired
just said it.
trooper.
Yeah, looks like that bloke from the advert, or not the Asda advert. If anyone who in the UK listens to this, you know exactly which geezer I'm on about. But predominantly a striking match. Was I a bit harsh calling her a bog-eyed person? Yeah, probably was. But she couldn't see them strikes coming, could she? Let's be honest. It stayed on the feet. Nothing going for her. 29-28, clear-cut decision for Dern. Easy pick for the big dog. KDiggy, what's next for Dern?
What did I put here for Dern? I think
you went for a loser. You said you were going to lose, actually, didn't you?
I did.
You said you were going to lose another duff pick for the KDiggy.
I was doing it for the XP, and it was 29-28, so it wasn't the worst pick in the world, I guess. But yeah, I've got against someone who's featured prominently on the MMA blog previously, and Jimbo is a big critic of her, I'd say. So I'd probably put her up against Claudia Gladea. That's how you say her name.
You are correct.
Yeah, he's
I'm not an advocate of her fighting, but I think she's a sort.
Mm.
I think she's strawweight.
I'd probably say Mackenzie Dern, G'day.
I think Watson. Is Watson got a fight actually?
Isn't she fighting? Who is she fighting? No, she's out with COVID. She caught for COVID.
She copped for COVID.
I think.
Going to double check now. Just going to double check.
I'll tell you who I while this is going on, who I believe she should fight. I'd give her the winner of the fight this weekend.
Oh yeah.
The winner of Santos and Robertson.
I like it.
Well, they're flyweights. They're flyweights.
They are flyweights.
Oh.
Showing that great knowledge of the women's divisions there, Jimbo Slice. Great knowledge.
I clocked it that they were flyweight straight away as soon as I said it.
Still said it though, didn't you? To be fair, I had to check that Mackenzie Dern was in fact a strawweight because I was adamant she'd moved up to flyweight. She
missed weight so horrendously in her first few fights. She might as well be a flyweight.
And yeah, so you wanted to move up and fight the winner of the Robertson Santos. Is that what you want to happen?
I want her to move up. I think she should move up.
Yeah, I think the thing that the real fight that Mackenzie Dern needs to have next, it's not in the cage. It's with a vocabulary expert to rein in her accent and her voice, because one minute she sounds like a Yank, then she sounds Brazilian. This last, she can't sort it out. She needs to sort her voice out. It does my Sweden. Absolutely does my nutting on the daily. Her voice just does my nutting. And
sounds more like a mother's meeting this than a UFC chat.
I know I'm on one today. I'm absolutely on one today. We'll move on. We'll move on.
Dern could fight Angela Hill. That's one I'm putting out there.
It's a good fight. I think Angela Hill, Watson, either one of them, I think it'll be a good fight. Obviously, once she's sorting out her accent. But the next fight, I'll tell you what Tony Ferguson said. I read this in an article. He's passed a comment and he says that Charles Oliveira was mentally broken in the first round of the fight. That's what he said. I'll find the quote for you.
He nearly snapped his arm. Oliveira nearly snapped Tony Ferguson's arm.
Yeah.
Tony
Ferguson on Charles Oliveira. He was mentally broken in the first round. This is Jed Michoud from MMAfighting.com. Let me find out. Let me just find out exactly what he said. We're not going to waste any energy, and you guys shouldn't even in jiu-jitsu matches. Just be patient and wait for the opportunity for him to advance and get so lazy that in the third round, doesn't even advance to mount anymore. What he does is he stays controlled inside position, looking for something completely different, a different move, because he was mentally broken in the first round. I don't think he was mentally broken, Tony. I think he was tired from putting a beating on you for 2 rounds and absolutely spanking you. I expected an Oliveira winner, as did KDiggy. KDiggy lost this one again on a dreadful run of form on the verdict last night. But me and Jimbo Slice had the same pick, the same mentality of that Oliveira victory. Didn't go quite as I expected it to. I expected a knockout on the on the feet, but a completely dominating performance from Oliveira. Did it play out as you expected it to, Jimbo Slice?
It played out exactly how I expected it to. I did put an Oliveira decision, and I did say Tony doesn't go out easily. He doesn't get knocked out. He's got a chin of steel. And I thought it would be a bit more even on the ground. But yeah, it went what I expected to. Domination from Charles Oliveira. Complete and total domination. And really, the fight that I would want to see, but it's never going to happen because he's retired, would be I want to see that level of jiu-jitsu versus Khabib, but it's never going to happen. So really, Oliveira fights the winner of Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor.
And, you know, I think it was Daniel Cormier that was saying, it might have been on the broadcast or afterwards, someone definitely said this, I can't remember exactly who, but they were saying that Charles Oliveira is one of these fighters that he's been a great guy for a very long time, but when you're talking about the top fighters in the division, you know, there's kind of 4 names that generally would get brought up, excluding Khabib because he's retired now. So we're saying Conor, Dustin, Justin, and Tony. You know, he's taken one of them out. KDiggy, do you think he's got what it takes to take out the other 3?
I think he does. I think he's got the skill set. I think he's a peculiar fighter as well. He's got the reach and he's got the height to do it, and he's got the ground game to do it. I think next he comes up against Gaethje, and I think it would be a fantastic fight against Gaethje as well. I think it makes sense now. You can see it written in the stars. You can see Gaethje, Oliveira. You can see Conor, Poirier. Winner fights for the championship. Whoever wins, Khabib comes in again and fights and just shows everyone why he's the dog.
And then we are all forgetting the uncrowned champion of this division. Michael Chandler comes in and saves the lightweight division for us all.
Out of nowhere. He comes from
at the end of this, we will be a spoiler. Charles Oliveira will take out all 3. Michael Chandler, the ultimate spoiler of this story.
Michael Chandler's a clown, man. Like, he's constantly getting interviewed, ducking and dodging every name that's chucked his way. What a clown. What a clown. What an absolute disgrace of a fighter. You know, you sit here, Jimbo Slice, giving it big licks, talking about how he's, a big boy. He's going to come in here, do this and that. But at the end of the day, Michael Chandler lost twice to Will Brooks. And the only person that Will Brooks beat in the UFC was Ross Pearson.
He also arguably beat Eddie Alvarez twice.
And Eddie Alvarez lost to Donald Cerrone, Conor McGregor, and Dustin Poirier. And then lost to some Russian geezer over in 1.
He was also the UFC lightweight champion.
I feel like we've been on the craziest vlog we've had yet. It's just gone so mad.
I think we're all deluded.
It's been a wild ride so far. It's been a really wild ride. So
I think we need to hurry up with some bits of it as well.
No, we don't. I'm enjoying the flow. Tony Ferguson.
I'm enjoying the flow.
What happens to Tony Ferguson from here? Where does he go?
He carries on in the UFC. Let's not get too wild and tell him to retire or anything like that. Let's not knock him down a peg or 2, but let's just keep him around. He's a bloody fan favorite, and there's no rush yet. Let's take a step back and give him a few months off, and yeah, we can recoup and have a look at it in 2021. Just have a Merry Christmas, Tony, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know who I'd want him. Jimbo, take the floor.
Sorry, there's one place for Tony Ferguson to go, and that is up to the welterweight division. Up to the welterweight.
I thought you were going to say bare knuckle, and I thought you were going to say bare knuckle boxing.
Well,
who have him in the welterweight division against? That's a good one.
Anyone? Matt Brown. 7-fight Matt Brown. Diego Sanchez.
Nate Diaz. Tony Ferguson. Ooh.
To be fair, you hit the nail on the head.
To be fair, you know, you've got a fighter in Nate Diaz who, when he, in his last fight lost to Masvidal, was there claiming that Masvidal didn't want to be in the fight and was mentally broken again after getting dominated. So they've got that in common. I think it'd be a good fight, to be fair.
They're both
I'd watch it.
mental. That'd be an incredible fight.
Can you imagine the build up to that? It'd be an absolute whirlwind.
I like it.
It
It'd be
feels
a
like
co-main somewhere as well. I think. I don't think it's
yeah, absolutely,
absolutely like the card of the year co-main.
Yeah, but God, it feels like we've been breaking down this card for an entire lifetime, but we're finally at the main event. Decent Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno fighting to, I believe it was a majority draw. One judge gave the fight to Big Fig. The other two scored it 47-47. How did you score the fight, Jimbo Slice?
I scored it 47-47.
Yeah.
I actually believe that Moreno would have won the fight if there wasn't that horrendous groin shot where he nearly vomited in the cage, which gave Figueiredo the advantage in that round for at least, which meant he won that round, which meant it was a 9-9. But I would have believed if that didn't happen, Moreno would have won that round and he would have won the fight. So, I think that's really my thoughts now. I'm excited for the rematch.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a great fight. It played out very similar to how me and yourself were kind of speculating, Jimbo. I think Big Fig looked to be struggling due to his weight cut. I'm pretty sure that he was in hospital the night before as well. He was hospitalised with a stomach issue. So, his back was against the wall in terms of his own health and well-being. But first round came out beautifully strong, started to slow in the second. And then after that horrendous groin shot, it gave him a bit of time to get his breath back, relax himself, get him back, get his composure, and also compromise Moreno because his cock hurt. And he was in a bit of pain from that. I mean, we're going to have a rematch. Dana White said as much. KDiggy, how do you see the rematch playing out?
I'm going to say after going back home, resting up, giving him at least 2.5 months to recover. I'd like to think we'll come back and see a Figueiredo victory.
Hope we do.
I feel like it could be a latter round knockout. I think it's time for him to relax. It's been what a crazy 2 months he's had with all the training and to be fair, it is the same for Moreno, but I think Big Fig he's been living that crazy life and he can just chill out and have a Merry Christmas, him and Tony,
Oh yeah. I think it's a great match. I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to see it soon. I want them to have a break, possibly at National Fight Week, give them a good few months off. But the question I've got for you here, Jimbo Slice, is where does this leave Cody Garbrandt for his next fight? What does he do?
This leaves Cody Garbrandt to fight Brandon Royval and Brandon Royval to win and get the title shot.
Sneak into that pound for pound rankings at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I say I want Big Fig to wait until July. I need that geezer to fight sooner than that, to be fair, if he's going to be double weight champion and in my top 5 pound for pound by the end of the next year. The head says wait, the heart says I want to win the pound for pound predictions. So I want him to fight sooner than July. But a great fight nonetheless. Coming up, really good the first time. I think it'll hold up and be just as good the second time, to be fair. These boys just go at each other and go hard. But anything more that you fine gentlemen want to add to this card before we move on to this weekend's?
They could potentially fight on the Volkov Overeem card in June.
Oh yeah, in June. So big card this weekend. I didn't realise how good some of these fights were until I was actually having a look at it the other night and putting my picks in and doing my research prior to this card. What an event to cap off the year from top to bottom. You've got some unreal fights in the prelims. You've got a great main card, just exciting from top to bottom. You've got on the verdict the entirety of the main card up for grabs, and also the final fight of the prelims, which is the first pick in Anthony Pettis against Alex Morono. KDiggy, talk me through your pick for this one.
I'm going to go Morono here. Pettis has been on a skid, obviously, he only fights fucking beasts. But Morono, he's well-rounded. He gets knockouts. He wins by decision. He wins by submission. And he's a heavy underdog again, as he is, as it happens on verdict. And I always want to get that. I'm a greedy boy and I like my XP. So bring it on, Moreno. Let's go and win that decision.
I'll say what my pick is here. The thing for me with Anthony Pettis, what I've seen so far in his fights at the welterweight division have not impressed me remotely. Fair cop, he did knock out Stephen Thompson. It were a beautiful knockout, but until that knockout, he was getting quite handedly and comfortably beaten by Stephen Thompson. He then fought and lost to Nate Diaz, who implemented a bit of power, a bit of power against the cage, taking him down at will. He then moved back down to lightweight for one, lost, fought and beat an aged cowboy. Didn't look great, a very uncompelling matchup and very disappointing considering when they last fought back in 2013. He decimated him in the first round in a very quick body TKO. For me, Alex Morono, I'm shocked at how big of a dog he is in this fight. I think he's got the size advantage. He's going to have that big size and weight that he can use to impose his will on Pettis. Anthony Pettis is the better striker by an absolute mile. I'd argue possibly even the better grappler off his back. He's got some beautiful submissions in the UFC against Benson Henderson, Gilbert Melendez back in the UFC lightweight division. But for me, I just don't like him as a welterweight. I do not think he's big enough. And I think for that reason, he's just going to be controlled and have his weight used against him by Alex Morono. I've gone for a Morono decision. KDiggy, I'm the same as you. Jimbo Slice, is it a sweep?
It is a sweep. I have gone for Morono as well. My reasons is I'm going for Morono by decision. Anthony Pettis, this is a man who fought at featherweight. He's a small welterweight. My issue is Anthony Pettis has only fought top guys. He has only fought top guys, so this could really just show up Morono, and he could absolutely destroy him. But I just think at a welterweight, he seems like he fights like he's got those extra pounds on him, and he doesn't inspire me as a welterweight like I hoped he would when he moved up. So yeah, I've gone for a Morono decision.
That's interesting that we've all gone for that. Quite a significant underdog on the card, but we've all fancying that victory. And the next fight, I believe, is, I'll just double check, but I'm pretty sure it's, Jimbo Slice wants to see Mackenzie Dern's next opponent be with her moving up. Gillian Robertson against Talia Santos. We'll stay with you, Jimbo Slice. What's going to happen in this fight?
What's going to happen is I quite like Gillian Robertson. I don't know why. She seems like a likable person. Same age as us, I believe.
Don't give away our age, man.
She's 92. I don't know. I'm not certain. Some say she's young. She's not old. She's got a lot of upside. Uninspiring, not the savage she claims she is as a nickname. But yeah, I've gone for a second round submission via. I'm going to call it via RNC.
What round did you say?
2 second round submission. RNC.
Sorry about that, boys. I just had to put the old laptop on charge as it were going flat. KDiggy, talk us through your pick.
So Santos is here because De La Rosa licked a few door handles because she was scared to fight Talia Santos. So she was scared. I understand why she's scared, because Talia Santos is a beast. Both of these girls have fought and beat Meatball Molly McCann. And Santos is an underdog. Well, for the bookies, she is. These two, they can't really split them. But in verdict, people are leaning much more towards Jilly Bob. So, but for me, I like how strong Talia Santos looks, and I'm leaning towards her. Yeah, backing her again.
What verdict? How's she winning? What's the outcome? What's the outcome of Santos's win?
How was the outcome of all women's fights?
Decision.
Yeah.
Well, We've got a split verdict here. We've got KDiggy going for Santos, Jimbo sticking with Robertson. I think Santos, if this fight, she'd had, a reasonable amount of time to prepare, I'd be quite happy to pick her. Seeing what Macy Barber did to Gillian Robertson, that she's can't deal with that power, that pressure, and she is, put awayable. You can put her away. However, I think Santos is going to be compromised by doing a quick turnaround cut, having only cut weight a fortnight ago, maybe the other week. I can't remember how long ago it was. But I think she's going to be compromised, and I think that she's going to tire out. And I've gone for a second round submission as well for Gillian Robertson. I think that she's finding her form. She's getting a bit better, and I think that that's going to be the difference here. Compromising cut for Santos will be the end of her. The next fight, we go from the smallest people on the card to the biggest in Marcin Tybura taking on Greg Hardy. I have been umming and ahhing about this fight all week. I cannot make my mind up on it. I might even change my mind after I've said what I'm going to say now. But Greg Hardy, I am uninspired by. I think he is crap. Anytime he has come up against anyone of good opposition, he lost to Volkov quite comfortably. And I'm not for a minute going to say that Tybura is of that caliber, of that quality, because he's not. He has shown in fights against, Sakai, which was his last loss, that he can be finished. And Hardy does pack a punch, he packs that power. But the thing for me, Tybura, he's got that experience. He's a savvy veteran in the UFC now. He's got that championship caliber outside the UFC. I think Hardy's going to put it on him in the first round. Tybura is going to relax, let him gas himself out and take over in the second and third to get a decision against Greg Hardy. KDiggy, what do you think?
Well, I completely agree with the part of what you were saying there. Obviously, Tybura has been knocked out by Sakai and he's been knocked out by Derek Lewis. And so I think he will get into the first round and he'll try and relax. But he's going to get knocked the fuck out in the first. So, and that's what's going to happen. Greg Hardy is 6'5". He's 265 pounds of pure meat, and he's gonna knock him out in the first round. Yeah.
Jimbo Slice.
I have gone with Greg Hardy. I've gone with a knockout. I've gone with a second round knockout. Now, I take some issue with what you're saying about Greg Hardy being awful. I think of Greg Hardy as the Jake Paul of the MMA world. He's not good, but he's grown into it. From what I remember, his fight with Volkov, don't get me wrong, we expected Volkov to destroy him, and he survived. He'd fought just over a month before, maybe just under a month before. I don't think he's horrendous.
He's a clown. Yeah, he's a clown.
Yeah, he might be a clown as a human being, but he's growing. He's growing, and I think he's going to win by second round KO.
It's not out of the question. I agree with everything that both of you are saying, to be fair. At the end of the day, Greg Hardy is a natural athlete. He was in the NFL. So, he's got that physical gift. He is a physical specimen, and he could quite easily shut Tybura's lights out. But I think that Tybura's fought enough people that he isn't going to allow that to happen. We'll stay with you, Jimbo Slice, for the next fight. Bantamweights. Marlon Moraes coming off a devastating loss in the second round knockout to Corey Sandhagen, taking on Rob Font. Talk me through your pick for this one, buddy.
Now, I've gone with a man I have been high on since he fought Thomas Almeida. I have gone with Rob Font, and I've gone with Font via decision. We all know Marlon Moraes is a savage for one round. And I feel like 10-9 to Moraes, 10-9 to Font, 10-9 to Font, Font by decision.
I thought I was being a bit of an outsider with my pick on this one. I thought no one else is going to pick this, and I've gone for a Rob Font decision as well. Marlon Moraes, I'm not going to sit here and slag him off like I would the likes of Jack Manson and Greg Hardy, because I do like him. I think he's a funny guy. He makes me laugh with the way he talks. He's a good guy, and he's got he's got some good skills. He didn't beat Aldo, as far as I were concerned. He lost his fight before that one to Cejudo, and he lost his last fight. He should really be on a 3-fight losing streak, and he's not. I think he's past his best. I think he's past his prime. I think that this is a star in the making performance for Rob Font. And again, I'm thinking a decision. KDiggy, does Rob Font take the sweep?
Oh, that cracked me up, man. The way he talks is so funny.
Mickey Mouse!
I just want to say, fuck Marlon Moraes. That guy's no good to me. He's let me down 3 fights in a row. He let me down against Cejudo. He let me down. Well, actually, he should have lost against Aldo, but that's a different story. And then he let me down in his last fight. Who did he fight in his last fight?
Cory Sandhagen.
Sandhagen. He let me down against Sandhagen. So what? You know what? Fuck Moraes. I've gone for a Font decision as well. We had a trade, maybe.
The outsider pick's not really an outsider pick anymore, is it? If we're all picking it, I don't think it's out the question. I don't think a Moraes knockout's out the question in the first round either. But I think that the longer this fight goes, the more dangerous it is for Moraes, as he just seems to have lost all capability to hold on to his stamina in any fight. But it's going to be interesting. It's a great fight, as a lot of these fights on the main card are. And if this next fight goes past the first round, I will be flabbergasted. Michelle Bahia taking on Chaos Williams. Chaos Williams obviously coming off a humongous first-round knockout against Abdulrazak Al Hassan in his last fight. Sub 30 seconds, or maybe 31 seconds, but unbelievable power in that fight. I think he's going to continue to show his power, and Michelle Bahia is going to be clowning around, as he always does, because he is a clown, and he's going to pay for it, and he's going to suffer, and he's going to be on the end of a brutal knockout in the first round by Chaos Williams. Jimbo Slice, does the first round knockout streak continue for Williams?
I was umming and ahhing about this because I actually think Pierre Pereira is probably the more refined striker. But it's not going out the first round, is it? Chaos Williams is going. If he hits clean in that first round, he is knocking him out cold. So I believe if he goes out the first round, Michelle might win it. But probably not, because it's probably not going out the first round. I think Williams is going to just knock him out cold.
Is it another sweep, KDiggy?
It is another sweep. We keep all holding hands and guessing these things together. We're going to get to black belt at the same time from the look of it. Yeah, I've gone for Chaos Williams. 2 first-round knockouts this year, and let's end the year with a 3rd first-round knockout. I'm excited for it. Even though I really like Michelle Pereira, I follow about 10 fighters on Instagram, and Michelle Pereira is one, and he's a cool guy. I like him. But Chaos Williams is a monster.
And we'll stay with you, Jimbo Slice, KDiggy. We'll stay with you, Aldo Vera. Talk us through your pick, KDiggy Dog.
I'm always, for me, I don't know why, I just love an underdog story. I'm always thinking, yeah, I see that there's the XP's going towards, there's more XP going with Vera. Obviously, he's coming off that fantastic win over Sean O'Malley, which you could potentially say is pretty lucky, but it is a fantastic name to have on your resume.
O'Malley's undefeated, mate. What are you on about? He's got that undefeated mentality.
He does. Well, only in his own head. But I've chosen Marlon Vera here, but I'm actually going to change it last second. I'm going to change it to an Aldo decision because I'm in charge of my own life. And Aldo's a grizzled vet who I believe can knock Marlon Vera off his ledge a little bit now and calm him down after that lucky win over Sean O'Malley, which probably wouldn't happen again.
Jimbo Slice, is luck going to stay on Marlon Vera's side?
I think Marlon Vera's got this. I think Aldo's getting too old. I think he's falling out of love with the sport. That's what I think. And I think really, I think Vera should be on a 6-fight win streak because I think he beat Song Yadong really.
Do you know what? I forgot about that decision. Scandalous.
I think most people who watched that think he thought he did. So I actually think Vera's got the better form at the moment. Aldo's on his way out, falling out of love with the sport. I think Vera's taking this by a decision.
So we've got a split pack, and for me, I agree with what both of you are saying. This fight for me has got shades of Marlon Vera's fight with Brad Pickett, and I'm not for a second gonna sit there and say that Brad Pickett and Aldo are on the same level, because at no points in their careers have they been on the same level. At no point have they been on that same level. I think Aldo's going to come out very strong in the first 2 rounds. It's going to look good. It's going to look great. It's going to look like the Aldo of old, and everyone's going to be saying he's back. Rejoice, the king is back. But he's going to gas out. He's going to gas out bad in that 3rd round. And Marlon Vera is going to do what he did to Brad Pickett and finish him in the closing seconds of the fight. And this will be the end of Aldo's run in the UFC. He'll be losing 4 straight, and he'll be off skis as far as I'm concerned. But I again would not be shocked to see Aldo come out there and put it on Vera for 3 rounds and put a beating on him. But we've now got the main event: Stephen Thompson, Jeff Neal, last minute main event, 5 rounds following Leon Edwards pulling out due to copping for COVID. I'll start with this one. I'll lead. It's a great fight. The thing for me is the hands of steel that Neal possesses. He is powerful. He is a great striker. He gets in people's faces, and he can do it with his hands. He can do it with his legs. He can submit people. He will finish you however the bloody hell he wants to. Whatever he sees, he's got that killer instinct. But I think here you've got a fighter in Stephen Thompson who comes out there and takes people on, fights surging fighters. He fought Vicente Luque last year at Madison Square Garden on the undercard, I believe, for the Masvidal Diaz. I think it were at 244 or 243. I can't remember which card it was. But I think this is going to play out very similar to that fight. He's going to do what he wants to Jeff Neal as the fight continues. And the difference here is Neal isn't used to that 5-round fight. He hasn't got that exposure to the late championship rounds, whereas Thompson does. I think he's going to put a beating on him for 3 rounds and then get a finish in the 4th round via knockout. Jimbo Slice.
I have gone with a Stephen Thompson victory as well. I was and ahhing. Jeff Neal is a fantastic striker. He's very good. But Stephen Thompson, in my mind, is the best. He's an excellent counter fighter. He bullied Vicente Luque, who I think is a brilliant fighter, especially with his hands. And Thompson just walked through him, really. I do think the main factor here is the 5-round club. Jeff Neal has tremendous power, but does that power diminish as he goes through the rounds? And so it'll probably be nothing. We don't know. It might be nothing by the time he's reached round 4 and 5. And I feel that's where Thompson's going to pick up enough points easily to walk away with the victory. And I just like Thompson. I just want him to win. Seems like a nice guy. I just want him to get that championship that he's never going to get now, but I want him to.
Are we concluding the year with a sweep, KDiggy?
We are. Yeah. I think I speak about Stephen Thompson most weeks on here, saying how much I'm in love with him. He's fantastic. And funnily enough, I follow him on Instagram as well. So he's a fantastic guy. He's a lot of fun to watch. Probably my favourite sort of striking technique in the whole of the UFC. I love the karate, love the hands down, love the wide stance. Kicks can come anywhere and everywhere, and I'm hoping he'll knock Jeff Neal's head off in around about the 2nd round. I want to make it a little bit earlier than you guys. I do understand the reasoning behind what you guys have said, being it quite later on. But no, I'm hoping Stephen Thompson can do what Kevin Holland did and actually knock out Jeff Neal, because Kevin Holland is the last person to knock him out. Fun fact of the day.
I saw that whilst I was doing my research, and it made me laugh, to be fair. We've got some pretty similar picks for this card. It's either going to be a home run for all of us, or we're all going to crash and burn here, and I can't wait to see what happens. It's been a great pod. I've had a blast this evening, gentlemen. It's been
I can tell.
It's been a wild evening talking about this, and it's going to be a wild card this weekend. So without further ado, we'll call it there, and we'll reconvene next week.
Cheers, lads. Have a good one.
Cheers.